Welcome back to Under Center with Kirk Cousins. I'm your host, Kirk Cousins. Mark Rosen is with me here, but he's come down with a little bit of a laryngitis, and so we're working with a man down, and we got to make it work. So I'm gonna have to carry this thing a little bit, which should be interesting. So I have some great guests with me today. We got the quarterback room represented in here, Jake Browning and Sean Mannion. I've been wanting to get these guys in here to have a conversation with them and let those listening to get to know them a little bit, as I have over the last several months. Both of them are great guys and great quarterbacks with bright futures. But last night, or I should say Sunday night, when Coach Zimmer gave us the final speech after the game, he said, "See you Wednesday." And so sometimes it can be hard to find people around the building who want to come in and come on the podcast. So these two guys, Sean and Jake, were kind enough to join me after we watched the film of the game. So first of all, guys, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. Sean, let's start with you. You guys have very similar backgrounds, both from NorCal, different places, but NorCal.
Yep.
Both Pac-12 guys. Both started 4 years.
Yep.
A lot of football in the Pac-12, record setters, a lot of wins. But Sean, let's start with you. Talk about your journey and growing up in the San Jose area, and then kind of your process to get to Oregon State.
Yeah, no, I grew up in the East Bay, in the Bay Area. My dad was a football coach my whole life, so I've been asked a lot about that kind of in the past and what that was like, and I thought, really it was just exposure to the game. Being a kid, you just want to spend time with your dad, and for me to get to go and be at all his practices and be on the sideline during games, I think it's really, that was the thing that I think really stood out, was just being around the game from a young age and just kind of falling in love with it. And then obviously from a football standpoint, it was great to develop as a young player. And, I got to play a lot in high school. And I know for me, being in growing up in the Bay Area, my goal was to really want to play in the Pac-12. I grew up watching Cal and Aaron Rodgers, and I remember Kyle Bowler and all the great running backs at Cal. So to me, Pac-12 football was a major goal for me. And I was recruited by a few Pac-12 schools, UCLA and Washington State, and obviously Oregon State. And throughout the recruiting process, I just fell in love with Oregon State. Coach Riley at Oregon State he's just a tremendous guy and tremendous coach. And I kind of just fell in love with it. And they were my only offer, but when they offered, it was what am I waiting for? This is where I want to be. So just jumped on it.
With your dad as a high school coach, was he a high school coach as long as you can remember? I mean, you were around football practice when you were 5, 6, 7 years old?
Yeah, as long as I can remember. He's still coaching. My family now lives in Oregon. So they won their first playoff game last week. My brother's a starting quarterback at the school now.
Which is awesome.
But yeah, no, my whole life he's always been coaching. So it's, like I said, just exposure to the game from such a young age was great.
What kind of offense did your dad run with you when you were in high school? Was it like a spread? Were you throwing the ball a ton? Was it balanced?
He likes to pound it. He likes to pound
he does.
the rock.
Even with his sons playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kind of contrary to maybe our skill set in some ways, but no, he's a big ball control guy. He loves if he can run the same play over and over and over again with success. He's way up on that. Oh, very gratifying.
So was the dream to go to Cal, watching Aaron Rodgers and some of those big names and what they were doing? Was the dream to go there, and when they didn't offer, you kind of had to look elsewhere, or were you not that tied to Cal?
You know what? I think if you had asked me, when I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, I probably would have said yes. But I think as the recruiting process began, it opens your eyes to many different parts of the country, and your knowledge of football grows, and your knowledge of other programs grow. So I wouldn't say I was too tied to Cal. I think that was just right by where I was 20 minutes from where I grew up. So you followed all those games as a kid. Yeah. But then once you get recruiting, and once coaches start coming to the school and get to know people and get to know other programs, you realize there's so many great places to play football. And from that point, you're really just looking for the best opportunity, regardless of prior allegiances or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, Jake, for you, coming from Folsom, California, near Sacramento, you were the Gatorade Player of the Year twice.
Yeah.
So you're a pretty decorated high school player.
Yeah, we threw the ball a lot. We were the opposite.
You aired it out.
We threw the ball pretty much the whole first half, and then we'd usually just run the ball the whole second half.
So the stats were there.
Yeah.
Now, like like Sean, you pretty much had the one Pac-12 offer and then took it and never looked back, right? I mean, you weren't making a bunch of visits, didn't wait around for 50 offers. You just kind of took your UW offer and went to Washington.
Yeah, I had a couple of other offers in the Pac-12 and some random ones. Like I had Oklahoma State. I had an Alabama offer, but I think if I would have committed, they wouldn't have taken me. Right? They're just like, hey, let's pump the brakes. Like we want to get to know you first. But
that's kind of a nice feather in your cap, though, to say Nick Saban offered me a scholarship.
Yeah, I talked to him once for 2 minutes. He gave me the spiel, and that was it. And I never heard from him ever again.
You played against him.
Yeah, I played against him, and I don't think he could have told you even. I think it was one of those. Let's throw this out there in case worst case scenario. But yeah, I had the Washington offer and knew Coach Pete from Boise pretty well, and so like Sean, I grew up watching the Pac-12. I remember crying when USC lost to Texas.
The Rose Bowl.
I didn't know what to do with myself, so I wanted to play in the Pac-12, and so when Coach Pete bounced over to UW, it kind of seemed like the best of both worlds. I really liked him as a coach, but also got to play in the Pac-12.
Both of you guys played for really good head coaches in college. You know, Mike Riley, former NFL head coach, knew and understood quarterbacking, and then obviously Coach Peterson, well-respected, has had a lot of good quarterbacks come through his system. So both of you guys were smart to go play for good coaches. And you in high school tied a national record with 91 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah.
How many games is that?
16.
I don't know the math on that, Mark, but that's a lot of touchdowns per game.
Yeah, we got some crazy stat. I think I have the most just touchdown passes in the country as far as like career.
That's kind of like a pretty cool flex to be like, like the 15,000 kids a year who play quarterback at their high school.
It was,
I have the most touchdown passes ever.
Yeah, Matty Mock was the guy that had the record. I think I broke it, and then 2 weeks later he got kicked out of Missouri. So it was,
Did you get a plaque or anything from anybody? I mean, the high schools are so divided among states. They don't really have like a national thing to say, hey, nice job.
Yeah, the local guy that ran like the sign sort, like literally made a sign that said whatever the number was, and then that's all I had.
That's awesome. So you guys both go to the Pac-12, and you never crossed paths, right? In terms of you were drafted before Jake even arrived at UW.
Yeah.
But Sean, talk about your journey at Oregon State. You redshirted 1 year, and then basically started for 4.
Yeah. So I redshirted. And that was a great growing year for me. Just developed a lot, and then come the following year, the previous quarterback Ryan Katz had been hurt and kind of missed some time in spring ball, and I was able to get more reps. I think
which is huge.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
And I think in that time I was able to show the coaches what I could do and show the kind of strides I had made throughout the year. And at the start of the year I was getting some playing time in the game. And I think by maybe the second or third game they named me the starter, and that was awesome. To get to play as a freshman is rare. So I said to myself, I'm going to get the chance to play a lot of football, and I just want to take it and run with it and do the best I can do.
Now, you started probably, 50-plus games in college?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was around 40. I got hurt my sophomore year. I had a knee surgery mid-season, and then the rest of the year we were kind of going back and forth.
Gotcha.
And then, my junior year, senior year, I started every game. So, probably around 40 starts, something like that.
And at the time you left Oregon State, before being a third-round pick to the Rams, you were the all-time passer in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I held the Pac-12's yardage leader.
Which is, I mean, again, like pretty cool flex to be like, Pac-12, like some of the names.
Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinart, Dan Fouts. Like there's some names here.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck. I threw
LA.
for more yards than any of them in a career in the Pac-12. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was a cool. It was a cool accomplishment. I think I broke the record against Cal too, which is kind of.
How late in the season did you break it? Was it like coming down to the end where you're like, "Hey, Coach Riley, make sure I can throw the ball here"?
No, I think I returned for my senior year, and I think I was around 1,200, and so I think it was maybe 4 or 5 games in. Maybe I'm not remembering it exactly, but halfway through the year, probably roughly is when I broke it.
Wow. And Jake at UW, talk a little bit about your journey. You didn't redshirt, which I have a hard time getting my mind around. So I come from Holland Christian High School, go to Michigan State. I'm praying that they redshirt me, right? I mean, I have no chance. I'm not ready to go. I go to the scout team. I need a year. Even spring ball the following spring, which I knew was my time to start to take another step. That still was that was when I was really kind of getting ready to go. But you pretty much, I mean, you were in a competition your first training camp, but at the end of it, it was, hey, you're going to go at 19 years old or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Talk about just your confidence level and that whole process.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was pretty confident coming out of high school, as I think
after 91 touchdowns
after
in the
most
season.
high school guys are. But yeah, you know, I thought coming out of high school, I felt like I had a huge advantage just because my high school coach did play in the NFL for about 3 or 4 years and had coached for a really long time.
So you were doing some things from a drill standpoint,
I mean, we showed up to every game in high school. We showed up to every game in high school like we were prepared like a college team. Like in Folsom, the whole junior program. Like there's 5 teams. If 4 of them don't win the championship, that's like a down year.
Wow.
And then we start practicing January 6th, and like I never took a PE class. I played football. We had football class.
So you were ready to go.
So I was ready to go, and I left high school early. So. We played in the state championship in December, and then I was at UW January 3rd, and just started learning the playbook and all that. And I thought I had pretty good study habits coming from the high school program I did. But I remember I went through the same thing getting there for that first spring practice. I threw like 5 picks. Buda Baker picked me off 3 times. I think it was 2 out of my first 3 passes.
Yeah, there were a lot of good DBs at UW.
Yeah. So we got worked. Most of spring ball, but I felt like I kept getting better and was in a competition with 2 other guys, and so was able to start as a true freshman, which was definitely a trial and error period. You're not really watching anyone else make mistakes; you're learning them all on your own and dealing with all those at the same time as I'm a freshman in college and dealing with there weren't very super high expectations, but we're fighting to make a bowl game, and I think that whole freshman year there was a lot of other guys that played early as true freshmen. My left tackle was a true freshman, running back, our best receiver, and so I think we struggled through that year, but kept battling and thought we had something special. And then my sophomore year was kind of
that was a monster year.
That's where it all kind of came together and took off, and so I had a great time at UW. We won a lot of games and.
You were 5th in the Heisman your sophomore year, was it?
Yeah. I was 1 away from being able to go to New York.
Oh man!
And the reward.
Cool. My sister was pissed.
Really cool.
So when he's a sophomore, the reward for having the year they had, winning the Pac-12, was to get to play Alabama. Well, I had a similar reward when I was a junior in college. We went 11-1, had one of those memorable seasons for Michigan State where you're going 11-1. And the reward was you get to play Alabama in your bowl game.
That's the reward,
and
right?
He and I both had the same experience.
Yep.
It was not good.
Yeah.
We go down the first drive against Alabama. We're up 7-0, and I'm like, we're about to beat these guys.
I threw an interception on our first drive. So.
we threw a touchdown in the back of the end zone, and then that was it.
Wow.
We kind of anchored it down, and that was one of the, I think, still to this day, I think everybody that touched the field for them on defense went in the first, second,
same
or
for
third
me.
round.
All the names are guys who are probably going to wear gold jackets someday, and it's just you look back and you just chalk that up to, hey, sometimes you step out there and they have better players and they get you beat. We were people ask, what was it like playing Alabama, and the line I use is I say, you ever seen Space Jam? It's like going against the Monstars, but you don't have Michael Jordan. That's really what it was. So I'm glad you shared that experience with me.
It was brutal. And I remember going into it, everybody expected us to win too, because it was, we had
a great year.
We had a great year, and we had 1 loss, and we were really good on defense. They weren't necessarily great on offense, but
different deal.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, different deal. Well, between us, I'm doing the math. There's probably about 150 combined college starts here, which says something to get 3 guys that have played that much college football. Yeah. So talk a little bit about now going from college to the NFL. Again, different experiences for each of us. And when you follow football, all you really hear about are the top 10 picks or the first rounders and kind of their process. But you were a 3rd rounder. I was a 4th rounder. Jake went undrafted. And as I've gotten into the NFL and lived this career out, you realize how many players are undrafted end up having an impact on the league. And once you get your foot in the door, it really doesn't matter where you were picked. You just got to go play and show what you can do at practice every day. And if you do that, you'll stick around. So talk about, Sean, your journey, being a 3rd-round pick, going to L.A., kind of the whole process of the coaching staff you had, and then Sean McVay coming in, and that whole journey.
Yeah, no, I was drafted, and I wasn't really sure what the circumstances were going to be. I know the team, the Rams had just traded for Nick Foles, and he was the guy. So I wasn't really sure kind of where I fit into the equation. and at times, is it hard to not necessarily get chances to play? Sure, of course, everybody wants to play. Everybody in this league wants an opportunity to get to play. But I think what I try to focus on, from the start is just focus on your game and try to be kind of blind to the circumstances. I think ultimately, if the approach I took was if I just focus on getting better day by day, then it'll all work out in the end. And there are certain things that you just, the bottom line is you have no control over. So I think it's just trying to focus on, doing the best that you can every day to work on your game. And, I played 4 years with the Rams and, the first 2 with Coach Fisher in LA. And then, like you said, Coach McVay came in my last 2 years there. And, I enjoyed my time all 4 years in LA. Made a ton of great friends and, learned a ton. And it was a great experience. But, I think I just really focused on, hey, how can I get better each day, and kind of try to be blind to circumstances that you can't control.
Yeah, which is a smart approach. I know there is so little you can control, and so to start worrying about all that other stuff, it'll just drive you nuts, Mark. And so it's a great approach and one that I've taken, he's taken, Jake will take as we go forward. But Jake, talk a little bit about your rookie year, how it's been going, even the process for you of going to the combine and waiting to hear your name called and then trying to figure out where to go, because when the draft ends, the power kind of switches to the player.
Yeah.
And now it's teams start recruiting you and saying, hey, would you come play for us? We're looking for people to fill out our roster.
Yeah. What I don't think people realize when you go undrafted, or when a lot of teams think you're going to go undrafted, is you're more busy on the third draft day than anyone getting drafted that day. I mean, I got probably 50 to 60 phone calls just because people call you and say, hey, who have you talked to? Or you blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
You got to kind of play that game with, well, do I want to say I talked to these people, or, do I lie and say who? Do I, kind of, because you have a little more power, kind of.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I think what I focused on was I didn't lie at all. I told everybody who I talked to.
Good step.
But I wanted a place where I felt like I could come in and learn a lot, and a system that I felt like I fit into. I didn't want to necessarily go back up Patrick Mahomes, because there's a lot of things that he does that are just unique that I probably can't emulate, and that's just how it is. I think a lot of us feel that way. But I wanted to come into a system where I felt like I could be developed and have a chance to learn a lot. Obviously, having these 2 guys here has helped, and just trying to absorb as much as I possibly can. And I never had a redshirt year, so this is kind of
a little bit of a redshirt
year where I can actually think like, okay, here's where I want to be, 6 months from now. Whereas Kirk has to think like, here's where I need to be on Sunday, and the following Sunday, and the following Sunday. And for me, it's like, well, I can kind of put my body into more of a deficit to grow, or to I can push myself a little bit more, and I can be tired on Sunday, because it's like I'm writing down the plays on a clipboard, so it doesn't really matter as much. So you can kind of have more long-term goals than I've ever really been able to. And so been doing that, and then just absorbing as much as I can from everybody. These 2 guys, obviously, but even, just random people. You're in much more of an observer role, and I've never been in that.
Which is tough, right? Going from high school to college. I mean, all is playing in significant games.
Yeah. I mean, like Sean said, everybody wants to play, but, I have no control over that. So now it's how can I learn from everybody that's around me and absorb from things I like that people do or don't like, or kind of you're in much more of an observer role than you would even think.
I tell Jake it's a marathon, not a sprint. This career, people want everything to happen so fast. I mean, Sean in quarterback years in year 5 is still kind of young, and there's something to be said for knowing that he still has a lot ahead of him, let alone Jake in year 1. But take a peek behind the curtain a little bit of what you guys do for me and for Clint. As you know, Clint puts you to work. Just talk a little bit about your roles, because I'll certainly toot your horn and all the help you give me, but talk a little bit about your rhythm of just what it looks like to say, hey, don't know if I'm going to play on Sunday or not, but here's my rhythm, here's my things I need to do, and here's some side projects that Kirk isn't even doing, that as the guy backing up, I'm going to do and go above and beyond to help get them ready. Talk a little about that. Sean, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the cliche is, prepare as if you're the starter. And I think that's a great approach to take. I think a lot of it, for me, is just trying to get a good feel for the scheme, try to get a good feel for the opponents, and how are their coverages playing, stuff like that. So, Obviously you start off by watching games and you dive a little deeper, trying to watch it, how do they play certain formations or what adjustments do they make to motions and shifts and stuff like that. So I think it's just trying to, dive a little bit deeper each day. Today's Monday, coming off a great win last night. So now it's just starting, hey, let's just watch a couple games, get a kind of a general feel for, what is Denver doing. And then I think, tomorrow and subsequent days, it's, okay, let's take a real close look at their coverages. What adjustments do they make to formations or motions? What kind of tells can we get? How can we attack their different coverage rules? So I think you kind of dive day by day. And then I know, like Kirk said, we're all in there together, all day, every day pretty much. And, for me, I think what's productive is as I'm preparing, I think it's helping Kirk. And as Jake's preparing, I think it's helping, all of us. And to me, I think a lot of the best preparation just comes from, me and Jake, Kirk asking good questions, because, like they say, if someone's thinking it, someone else is probably too. So I think it just comes from a lot of the, the great study, I think, comes from just the back and forth conversations in there about different concepts or how can we attack this coverage or how have you seen this read before? Or, how do you like your feet on this play? I think the back and forth that goes on in there is really as productive as anything, really, because I think we're all bouncing things off each other. And, obviously Kirk's played a long time in this league, so for me it's great to just kind of hear his thoughts on a scheme that maybe he's running I've never seen before. I think those are really productive conversations throughout the week.
Well, some of the things that Sean does throughout the week, so like early in the week, he will suggest plays to the coaches. And there are times where Sean, we'll get in Wednesday morning and Sean will say, what did you have for the coaches? And I'll be like, I didn't really give him anything. And he'll be like, I gave him these 3 or 4 plays. And I'll be like, those are good ideas. Let's get those in. And I'll make sure if they're not in, I'll go to bat and hopefully, I can get them in. And so it's almost like he's an assistant quarterback coach. I mean, we have a quarterback coach, but there's some value he's bringing from that standpoint. And then he also, like Clint, makes them throw early in the week since they didn't throw on Sunday technically. I mean, they threw, but they weren't playing. Yeah. He makes them come in and get extra throws while I'm able to just chill and relax on a light day. And at the end of the week, Sean has to go and get an extra game that was not in our breakdown, maybe going back a year or multiple years, and he breaks it down and pulls plays from it, makes a cut up, and then one of the last meetings we have before the game is watching that film that he's made and prepared and kind of talk through it. So those are some of the extra projects that a reserve quarterback gets. But even just like you said, the dialogue we have post-practice, we go back, watch the film of practice, and it's, Sean, what do you think there? What did you see? How did you do it in L.A.? And even, when you played for a team that went to a Super Bowl and was one of the best offenses in the league and the starting quarterback was going to Pro Bowls, to say, hey, you guys have played Seattle. You guys beat Dallas in the playoffs. What are you doing against them and how can we copy that? And so, like I said, an assistant quarterback coach in a way, in addition to being the number 2. So it's a pretty cool dynamic and is a huge help to me. Now, Jake, you're probably getting worked more than anybody. Let's talk a little bit about the weekly rhythm for you.
Yeah, so I'm here pretty much every morning at 6 doing the P Squad lift.
They want him to get bigger.
Body by Chaz.
Get in there with Huey.
Chaz Maley is our strength coach that works out the quarterbacks. And
so I'm fighting genetics pretty much every morning at 6 a.m. and so then we go into quarterback meetings on Thursdays and Fridays. I draw up every single third down and red zone play with the route depth, the route name, the read, drop, all that stuff. And then I'm here with them until late, do all the throwing after practice. Not a ton of reps during practice, but try to learn a lot and ask Kirk kind of what he was thinking on different stuff. And it's really nice having a guy like Kirk who you feel okay asking, hey, what were you thinking on that one? Just because, for me, it's like if I'm ever in that situation, I want to know what he was thinking, or, it helps being to observe when you feel like there's open dialogue. But I don't think that's how it is everywhere. Because I do know a lot of other P Squad guys, and there's not that open dialogue. But for me, it's a lot of lifting weights, a lot of
true redshirt year,
a lot of running,
and drawing. He's got to draw a lot of plays.
And then I make a DB cut up. So whoever we're going to play, I'll make a cut up of all the pass attempts. Or I'll go through a cut up of all the pass attempts at them throughout the year, and then kind of cut them up and be like, here's what I think about this guy. Talk to the scouts. about what they think about the team coming in and the DBs, and that's been pretty unique because I've never really thought about what a DB is like in transition, but apparently they're all not good in transition.
The key to Jake's with all these projects, and John Gruden used to say this to me, is you got to learn the league, man. And Jake's learning the league 1 week at a time.
Yep.
But, before we go off, I have to mention we have a list in the quarterback room. We call it the up-down list. And just throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, throughout the season, we'll just make a comment like, man, I'm way up on this play this week, or I'm down on this play. I don't like it. Well, then that turned into just let's make a list. So Jake is our scribe. He's got a list in front of him here of all the things we're up and down on. Well, on the way here to work today, I drove on a traffic circle, and I was going to tell you guys, maybe this is a hot take, but I'm way up on traffic circles. I don't like
the roundabouts.
Yeah, roundabouts.
Roundabouts.
I don't like stopping at red lights. I like
give me some more roundabouts.
Keep moving. Let's build more roundabouts. So I add that to the list, Jake, when you get the chance, that I'm way up on roundabouts. But maybe Jake could buzz through a few of our up and down lists. Again, there's no context here, but it all started in training camp.
We're very high on the Minnesota State Fair.
We're up on the Minnesota State Fair.
The Oceans trilogy, the movies.
The Oceans movies we're up on.
Local news.
We're up on local news.
Chad Beebe's Honda Accord.
Amen.
Amen to that.
You know me, I love Honda.
I'm pretty close, though. I got a Nissan Maxima.
How's that handle in the snow?
Better than Sean's truck.
Yeah, true.
This is true. A couple days ago, I was sliding all over.
It's a lighter vehicle with front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep adding to that up-down list as we go, but we've done a nice job as things come up. It all started when I said I was down on Europe. And Sean looked at me and he said, that's like too vague. You can't just be down an entire continent.
And you're up on Omaha.
Yeah, I'm up on the city of Omaha.
Those are the first two.
One of my favorite additions on the list is we're up on lists itself. The concept of lists is on the up-down list.
That's
we're
right.
up on them.
That's right.
Trying to see if there's any other good ones.
Well, you can think about it while I go on. So Sean, we found out, has the highest Wonderlic score on the team. So you can imagine the benefit that is to have that kind of mind in the room.
I don't know about that.
Big Trailblazers fan. Big
Yes.
Portland Trailblazers fan. He's considering a season ticket package this offseason.
Looking
into it right now. And he's a new homeowner.
Yep.
So he's got a few home projects coming up this offseason
Love home
as well.
projects. Way up on those.
Yeah, I'm way down on those. So that may have to be
there needs to be a consensus for it to make the list.
Yeah,
it can't be any
exactly.
individual.
Oh, there's a couple, like I'll put Kirk very passionate about different ones. We're down on neutral site college football games. We want
I want to see the campus. I want to see the home stadium. I don't want to go play at the Cowboy Stadium. That's not college football.
We're down on the arms race of college facilities.
Where does it end, Chris? Mark, where does it end? We're just going to keep asking for more donations and just keep going.
There's literally probably, 50 on the up and 50 on the down. It stayed really balanced. It stayed really
We're
balanced.
equally negative and positive.
There's been some waves. There's been some very negative times where the negatives are piling on, and there's some very positive times where the positives are. It's just the ups and downs of the season, though, really.
Well, as you can see, Mark, these guys are awesome. It's a great quarterback room, which makes a big difference for me. And hopefully the listeners got a feel for while they are 100% professional athletes, players, they also have to be part psychologist with me, part coach. I mean, I'll come off the field like in the Cowboys game after an incomplete pass or a missed third down. And, I'm kind of looking at them for what were your thoughts? What did you see? What do you think? How we doing? And so they kind of have to play that psychology game a little bit and keep us in it. And so it's been an awesome room, and I'm excited to hopefully be able to work with these guys for a long time and see where their careers go. I'd like to see them. I'd like to see there be 150 pro starts, with these guys as well, not just college. So hopefully those days are ahead of us. But thanks so much for coming on, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Let's go get the Broncos.